25th, the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners. Everyone, please take your seats. We're going to have our invocation by Reverend Juan Sanchez this morning, our Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Pickens. If y'all would rise, please. Thank you.
It is good to give thanks to the Lord and to sing praise to your name, O Most High, to declare your loving kindness in the morning and your faithfulness every night. We thank you for this day, another day that you have given us, another day to get hold of you and your promises. Once again, we ask for your wisdom, guidance, and favor. I pray that your grace, which is sufficient, continue to shine upon these honorable county commissioners and their precious family. I pray that you give them success today, you give them success tomorrow, and you give them success always. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. Before we get started, I do want to give you a little brief update of what we've been up to. Yesterday, the Board of County Commissioners drove to Marion County to Salt Springs for a meeting. Commissioner Lible was actually taking businesses around yesterday, so could not be in attendance, but we appreciate what you were doing yesterday very much. So the rest of us were down there, and we met with Marion County and had a great meeting. And we're trying to, if you've been around anytime you've heard us, we're trying to meet with all of our county commissioners, the counties that touch Putnam County, to build relationships with. We've met with Alachua County, and we met with Marion County and the city of Palaca, and we've reached out to St. John's, Clay, and Flagler, and Volusia. So pretty soon you'll see us have those meetings, but they've been great. Our staff has attended. I want to publicly thank our staff members, all of them, for coming and sharing their topic of expertise. It was just an outstanding time to build relationships. And again, stay tuned because this commission is moving forward on that. Commissioners, our first item of business is the approval of minutes of the April 11, 2017 regular meeting. The chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Have a proper motion by Commissioner Lible.
I'll second.
Proper second by Commissioner Pickens. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Chief Quinn Romay, please come to the podium. And Chief Romay, you have the floor, sir. And thank you for coming down yesterday, too. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We're here to honor a couple of our finest on fire and EMS. And first off, I'd like to call Captain Brett to come down. I want to introduce a couple of folks. Jonathan Thomas is a paramedic. He's on Rescue 87 in the West End. And Devin is also his partner. And both of these folks, as you will see, went above and beyond to help some of our citizens. JT, Devin, y'all want to come on down? First, we're going to read the facts of what actually transpired that night, and then I'm going to call up Mr. Roberts, Mr. Brown, and Mr. Myers with the SARS, and then Gerald Donnelly and Gerald Schuler with the VFW to present the state awards.
Each person in fire and EMS field has a call for service which singles them out from the rest. In late August 2016, Jonathan Thomas and Devin Lawrence were assigned to Rescue 87 stationed in Aquawilla. At approximately 12 a.m., Putnam County Sheriff's Office received a frantic call of a vehicle crash with persons trapped and vehicles on fire. The crew understood the urgency of the call and responded as quickly as possible. Upon arrival, it was determined that one vehicle was on fire with the second having flames coming out as well. JT and Devin worked seamlessly. JT tended to an unconscious male who was trapped in a vehicle upside down that was on fire. He was able to manipulate the patient and began to extricate him. Devin, at the same time, went to the second patient who was next to the other vehicle, which was also on fire. Heroic efforts were made by both crew members, and patients were removed from the hazards and carried to a safe location for further advanced care. Their quick actions saved the life of both patients who would have otherwise perished.
As you can see, we have a lot of great folks in fire and EMS and public safety. The sheriff was here a few weeks ago with some of a lot of the great things that are going on. But I truly want to thank JT and Devin. And with that, Mr. Roberts, Vernon, y'all want to come on up? I took the opportunity to nominate both of these fine young men for the awards. Each year, the VFW and the SARS group come to us and look for paramedics and EMTs that have gone above and beyond. And as you can see, both of these folks, JT and Devin, have certainly reached that milestone and exceeded it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Roberts and with the SARS.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
It's certainly a pleasure to be here again. It's been a while since I've been here, so I'd like to introduce myself. I'm William Roberts, past president and secretary of the St. Augustine chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution. With me this morning is Mr. John Brown, who's the chairman of our Public Safety and Heroism Committee. And as a backup, you know the Honorable Mr. Vernon Myers. The SARS is a national and patriotic historical and educational society organized in 1889, conceived of as a fraternal and civic society composed of lineal descendants of the men and in some cases women who wintered at Valley Forge, signed the Declaration of Independence, fought in the battles of the American Revolution, served in the Continental Congress, or otherwise supported the cause of American independence. The basic tenets of the SAR are to perpetuate the people and events of the American Revolution, to maintain the institutions of American freedom, and to promote fellowship among the descendants of the Revolutionary War patriots. One of SAR's goals is to seek out and recognize those individuals in public service who significantly contribute to the well-being and tranquility of our citizens and our way of life. Chief Romay contacted us relative to such an individual that serves with the Palatka EMS and who is considered without a doubt qualified in all aspects as a deserving recipient of the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution Emergency Medical Services Commendation. And at this time, I'd like to turn this over to Mr. John Brown.
Firefighter Devin Lawrence. How are you? The Sons of the American Revolution would like to present you with a medal and a certificate honoring your service and thanking you for the service that you have given to the community and to your fellow citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Gerald Donnelly with the VFW.
Good morning. On part of the VFW, the Veterans of Foreign War in the state of Florida, we'd like to honor Jonathan Thomas for an outstanding job that he's done for our community and to all the people who serve in our community and who does such a wonderful job. Jonathan Thomas has also received the state Veterans of Foreign War EMT Award for the state of Florida. This will be presented to him on May 20th, 2017, in Lake City by the state quartermaster. It's in our honor to be privileged to have such a fellow that does a great job for our community and to all the people who serve our community and do a wonderful job. In our presentation, we'd like to present this plaque to Jonathan Thomas in special recognition of exemplary service to humanity by the Administration Emergency Medical Assistance by plaque of post 3349. Thank you, Jonathan, for a great job.
As the chair's coming down, I just want to say thank you both. You know, as I said, we have a lot of great folks. We have a lot of great individuals on a day-to-day basis. We run 24/7, and through that, we see a lot of different things, and this is just a taste of what our folks are going through and having to face each day. You want me to get in the picture?
Y'all move up, y'all move up. And I'll come and go. Double stack and- Yes, that's. Come on, Chip, let's get up. Yeah. Let's work that. Come on in. Okay. Everybody gets. Now, they'll do theirs separate. Don't leave now. Don't go anywhere. A lot of people out there.
First, I'll introduce JT, Jonathan Thomas, paramedic. Devin was an EMT at the time, but he has now gotten his paramedic license, and Jonathan is working with him to become a seasoned paramedic. John?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Jonathan Thomas, who we know. I just want to thank everyone that's helped me get to where I am and the community that's helped me become the paramedic that I am. We have a really tight fit community at Putnam Community EMS. And Devin's been one of the best partners I've ever had. And we work very good together and very quickly together. We're very efficient. But we couldn't do it without a lot of these guys in the back either protecting us every day out there to get us to those scenes safely and to have the roads cleared for us on those wrecks. And sometimes they get there a little bit before us or a little bit after, but we all work really close together. So it's really nice. I also want to thank all my family that's here. I'd be nothing without them, my beautiful wife, and my little baby girl on the way.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. You gotta speak.
Gotta follow that up. All right. I'm Devin Lawrence. You guys know that. I just want to thank everybody that's kind of helped me since I've started the department like 4 years ago, I think. So Chief Flado, Chad Bratt, Chief Romay, everybody that's kind of helped me along the way, and JT for teaching me some things. So, but that's it, and my wife and my daughter for pushing me. So that's it.
Thank you.
I want to thank y'all for allowing us to do this. I think it shows the community, some of the things that they may or may not be able to see. And I think, all of the public safety community works very hard to serve our citizens. And, we all try to and strive to do a great job. So, but thank you.
Chief, before you leave, let me just say thank you to both gentlemen for the hard work. I was, during the presentation, I was reminded that the call came at 12 o'clock. Most of us are in bed sleeping, we're sound asleep, we're peaceful, everything's good. But what people don't realize is that you answer that tone, that page goes off. No matter if you're sleeping, no matter if your wife's having a baby, well, maybe if your wife's having a baby. but you answer that call when we're home not answering that call. And that takes a special person. So on behalf of our board, we really, again, want to thank all the people that answer the call when we're home, or we're not home, but answer that page and go out and risk their life to save others. And we thank you very much. Again, everybody, let's give them another big round of applause. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right. Next is the proclamation, National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Week and Putnam County LEO Memorial Day. Sheriff, are you going to do, you want to come up, Sheriff? Quinn Romay, would you come back up, please? Commissioner Goddard will be reading the proclamation, and I will join you down at the podium. Commissioner Goddard?
All right, this is our Putnam County Proclamation number 2017-29, National Law Enforcement Week and Putnam County Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Day. Whereas the week of May 14th, 2017 through May 20th, 2017 has been designated as National Law Enforcement Week, and whereas the day May 4th, 2017 has been designated locally as Putnam County Law Enforcement Memorial Day, and whereas Putnam County has dedicated law enforcement men and women serving our county under difficult, stressful, and often dangerous circumstances, and whereas law enforcement officers are our guardians of life and property, defenders of the individual's rights to be free, warriors in the war against crime, and dedicated to the preservation of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas Florida and the municipalities within Putnam County desire to honor the valor, service, dedication of its own law enforcement officers comprised of city, town, county, and state law enforcement agencies. Now therefore be it recognized and proclaimed by the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners that the week of May 14th, 2017 through May 20th, 2017 be recognized as National Law Enforcement Week, and that May 4th, 2017 is proclaimed Putnam County Law Enforcement Memorial Day. Be it further proclaimed that the citizens of Putnam County are urged to show their support and appreciation of our law enforcement officers who give their lives to protect and serve their communities by attending a county-wide law enforcement memorial service to be held Thursday, May 4th, 2017, 10 a.m. at the Ravine Gardens State Park in Palaca.
Commissioners, the chair will entertain a motion to accept.
Entertain a motion to accept this.
Okay, you make the
Second.
motion. We have proper second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, and congratulations. That's also, the reason I asked Chief Romay is because it's such a team effort, and I didn't want to leave you out, sir, so thank you. I'm going back. Anybody got a gun? I don't think so. Be safe. We're gonna stand behind you.
Hansel?
Good morning.
Y'all are definitely gonna have to get friendlier.
Now y'all gotta get real friendly. You might have to go out front and make another line.
Lon, you may have to take it from the back row.
Is there anybody out there in Putnam County right now?
Sweeping. All right, here we go. Smile. I gotta do it one more time. I was too fast.
I've heard that, Yvonne.
Shape. Delicate. Good.
Good. Congratulations. All right, our next proclamation will be the Child Welfare Professionals Recognition Day. We've asked Commissioner Pickens to read that proclamation, so who's here for child welfare? No? All right, Commissioner Pickens, if you'll go ahead and read the child welfare.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Harvey. Proclamation number 2017-30, Child Welfare Professionals Recognition Day. Whereas children are Florida's most precious resource and our promise for a bright future, and whereas Florida's child welfare professionals are responsible for ensuring that our children live free from maltreatment, enjoy long-term secure relationships with strong families and communities, and physically and emotional healthy and social competent, and that families nurture, protect, and meet the needs of their children and will integrate into their communities. And whereas Florida's child welfare professionals build rapport and trust with the family and people who know and support the family, empower family members by seeking information about their strengths, resources, and proposed solutions, and demonstrate respect for the family as the family exists in its social network, community, and culture. And whereas Florida's welfare professionals form partnerships with family members and people who know and support the family, partner and share information with relatives, caregivers, and foster and adoptive parents, and lead to facilitate partnership with all parties to achieve optimum communication, clear roles and responsibilities, and mutual accountability while including parent and other caregivers in care decision-making. And whereas Florida's child welfare professionals make lasting contributions and are sincerely dedicated to improving the lives of all children, now therefore be it proclaimed by the Putnam County Board of Commissioners that May 8th, 2017 is recognized as Child Welfare Professionals Recognition Day in Putnam County. Thus proclaimed this 25th day of April, 2017.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll approve.
We have a proper motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A proper second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. The next proclamation is recognizing April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So if you'd meet me at the podium. We did ask Commissioner Lible to read this, but he's had eye surgery and has asked us not to. His vision is not as.
Put me through that.
Yeah, so Commissioner Goddard, if you will, let me get my, you know what, I'm gonna read it from down there.
Oh, gosh, then I've got to move this up then.
Vertically challenged to the. Putnam County Proclamation Number 2017-32, recognizing April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and impacts every person in our community. And whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment harm our community. And whereas the theme of this year's Sexual Assault Awareness Month campaign is Walk in My Shoes. And whereas the campaign calls on new partners and community members to help expand sexual assault prevention efforts, support survivors, and ensure the next generation fosters attitudes that promote healthy relationships, equality, and respect. And whereas effective prevention and awareness programs succeed because of partnerships created among families, social service agencies, schools, faith communities, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Putnam County Board of Commissioners hereby declares the month of April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Putnam County and calls upon all citizens, community agencies, civic organizations, faith groups, medical facilities, and businesses to increase their participation in an effort to educate the community, thereby preventing sexual assaults and strengthening the communities in which we live. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners participates in and supports all persons in making a conscious effort to prevent sexual assaults. Thus proclaim this 25th day of April 2017. The Board will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to pass this.
Thank you. We have proper motion by Commissioner Goddard.
I'll second it.
A proper second by Commissioner Pickens. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
A lot lower than that. Good morning, thank you. With me are representatives are our Putnam County Sexual Assault Response Team, and certainly some of the individuals that left earlier help us in Putnam County as well. Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and impacts every person in this community. Rape and sexual assault and sexual harassment harm our community, and the statistics show that 1 in 5 women and 1 in 71 men will be raped at some point in their lives. Sexual abuse prevention for children is also a priority as we confront the reality that 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls experience sexual assault before the age of 16. Young people experience heightened rates of sexual violence in youth between the ages of 12 and 17, 2.5 more times more likely to be victims of rape or sexual assault. This year's theme is to walk in the shoes, and we want to invite advocates and you to join us and to spread the awareness and prevention of this horrible violence. Tomorrow is April 26th. It's National Denim Day across the world. It came out of an event that occurred in Italy where a young woman was, a rape case was overthrown because she was wearing jeans. And the court felt that she wore jeans, therefore needed to help the assailant take them off, and the case was thrown out. The next day, in protest, every woman in the legislature in Italy wore jeans. So I'm going to encourage all of you to wear jeans tomorrow to stand up against sexual assault. And teal, I think most of us are in some sort of green or teal today, also is the color. So if you would like to do that tomorrow, I would be grateful. We also want to invite you to a sexual assault awareness event at the Children's Advocacy Center, and that will be on Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. And you'll see artwork from adults and children that have been victims and survivors of sexual assault. So we'd love to see you there, and I've got invitations for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We
I
appreciate
got a
it.
picture, yes, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Lovely.
Why don't y'all come up here?
We'll come up.
Hey, classmate. How are you? We share the same birthday. Mary, you gotta get in the middle. Tallest one here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're your kings tomorrow. Tony, all right. Commission, next on our agenda is our public comment. We have 2 blue cards. Again, you don't need to fill out a blue card to speak to us, but it would be helpful if you did. The blue card's on the back there. Our first blue card is Mr. Ray Rowick. If you'll come up, sir. We are going to keep a 3-minute time limit. So we ask that you keep your comments within 3 minutes, and we appreciate it. And we also ask that you personally not attack anybody on staff. Thank you. Mr. Rowick, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Can I close this laptop here, or not a big deal?
Brandon, would that be okay? Yeah, he said that's fine.
Okay, I'll just shut it down. I've been here a couple times to talk about.
Mr. Rowick, you put the microphone to your mouth, sir.
Okay, is this better?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I've been in a couple times to talk about a problem I have with a noise nuisance of a parrot in my neighborhood. I put my name on the agenda for today to have this come up to the meeting to either find out if the board would enforce it or repeal the code. Either one, kind of irrelevant. When I was taken off, I came in yesterday to find out why, and I was lost for words when I spoke with the acting administrator, because first I found out she's my neighbor, which really disappointed me that my neighbor said she walked by my home several times checking this out and didn't have the courtesy as a neighbor to introduce herself. I was more disappointed as a county officer and a neighbor who couldn't introduce herself that was checking this out. This is not a personal attack, it's just my disappointment, and I was lost for words. So when I was informed I was taken off because the noise of the birds in my neighborhood was the same as the noise of the birds in her neighborhood, I went to your neighborhood yesterday and spent time, both on the canal in my boat and out front. And yes, the blackbirds at your house are the same as my blackbirds. But the one thing you are lacking that you don't have is my parrot next door. And of course, when you walk by, there's 2 things you heard when you came by my house if I was outside, and the only time the parrot's noisy is if we're in the backyard or on the porch. The noise you missed was my loud stereo playing. So I have 2 discs that I play. I play an animal distress noise of birds, which makes the parrot quiet and only whistles about every 10-15 minutes, though it puts the parrot in distress. So, not liking to harm the bird, I switch tapes back and forth when I go out to Cajun music. And all of these are heard by all of my neighbors who thank me for the nice music, and the birds don't bother them. So my disappointment is that we have an office in the county that investigates this, which nobody has talked to, and that's animal control. And after many calls, the first time animal control came out, parked outside, talked to the neighbors, left, said there's no noise. Same response as what you provided. I said, really,
please have the courtesy to talk to the complainant and find out how it's happening. So they came back out, parked in the driveway for a while, and when I seen her get out, I went out, I need 30 seconds, and talked to her, and she said, I hear no noise. I said, well, give me 2 minutes, walk to my dock, and as we walked past my house and I turned off the stereo, immediately the parrot started whistling. Her comment was, this is really outrageous.
Mr. Rowe, we need to wrap it up, please, sir.
So, in wrapping this up, the vision statement of this county is to make it a more responsive and effective government in Florida while making Putnam County the best place to live, work, and raise a family. 637 says, by making objectionable animal noises or doing anything that interferes with the use and enjoyment of the property, and the animal control agent agreed, I cannot enjoy it. Somebody please check with the people you pay to investigate this.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe, for your time. Next comment, Diane Deerhag. Okay, please come up. State your name and your address for the record, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Diane Deerhag. I live at 117 Ranchwood Road outside of Crescent City. I'm trying to come forward to get some questions answered. I was here a year ago, but when the noise ordinance was up in the air, and then y'all passed one. I have a copy of it right here. I keep by my computer. I have a problem. In my neighborhood, used to be a nice neighborhood. It's not anymore. My husband is a shift worker. He works 12-hour shifts, and when y'all know shift workers, they work various hours, days, and he drives over 100 miles from Crescent City to St. Augustine every day. My family has lived in this neighborhood for over 70 years. I have the same problem I had with Mr. Hardy that I have with the new sheriff. Is when I try to call, I get rudeness from the dispatchers. Either the officer doesn't show up or has ignored the call. I have even showed this noise ordinance to a responding officer that it point blank says that it annoys quantity of the noise, amplified sound, that annoys, disturbs, or injures a reasonable individual or normal sensitivity. I have had an officer point blank tell me, close your windows, turn up the TV, or wear earplugs, which is wrong and violates my rights. I mean, if my husband gets in an accident because the people a block over refuse to turn down their music, I have had an officer come to my house and tell me where the person had a PA system going a mile down the road. It started at 5 o'clock. I called the sheriff's office 3 times that, hey, I know this person. I'm not going to tell them to turn down their music because I know them. I said, it's midnight. I've called you 3 times. Enough is enough. I called the officer supervisor. He made her come back out there where I could sign a complaint, and she was reluctant to do it. I am still having this problem, and I had come before. When I called, I asked, who is the sheriff accountable to? They said, not the county commission. I called Rick Scott's, the governor's office. They said the person that I talked to, the county commissioners, said that no, that the sheriff is responsible or liable to the county commissioners. He is elected official and is not above the law. And my second question is, who is right on that? Is he responsible, accountable to y'all, or who is he accountable to? Because this has been going on for almost 2 years now. And I'm worried that something is going to escalate in my neighborhood where there is violence, and that's not a threat. And because the other shift worker has voiced his concern along with mine, but I'm the only one in my neighborhood, I guess you'd say, that has the nerve to say anything. The other question real quick is, I was at the old county commissioner's office when they passed the ordinance about the 4-wheelers, dirt bikes, and all this stuff. It has started up in my neighborhood again. I have taken pictures, showed the officers of the damage it's done to the road. It took me 10 years to get the county to come out there and grade it. When Dean Kelly was sheriff, he gave one warning. He come back out there, one of his officers come back out there, it got ticketed towed. They're not doing anything about it. So my question is, do y'all who do I need to contact? How do I get this resolved before something happens?
You're at the right place, and your voice has been heard today. And we'll go from there. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else from the public wishing to speak? That's the end of our blue cards. If you do, just please come up, state your name, address for the record. Please come up.
Faye Sparkman, 103 Flamingo Boulevard, Interlochen, Florida. My question to the board is today about the hearing aid equipment. I believe Mr. Lyle was the only one left on the board when we were able to get it. We had to write a letter to the governor, and then Tim Smith, your clerk of court, helped get the hearing aid equipment in here. You have 4 boxes that you wear around your neck. You have to program them with a little box like he wears. So we came to a meeting on Wednesday, and Amanda is a super young lady. She always has his one that was marked Sparky and brings it to him so he can hear the meetings. We came in Wednesday, and all this stuff is laying over here out in the open. His name's not on it. One of them is marked don't work. If something doesn't work, please make them get it fixed. There was 2 other ones. One was marked a man who comes once in a while. The other one was marked a lady, and that lady hasn't been here for a while because she's sick. But those things get adapted and programmed to the speaker thing that he has around his neck. So first he's telling me you're trying to freeze him out. Now you're telling him he can't hear. So he didn't want to come anymore. I said, no, you're going. He said, no, I'm not. I said, yes, you are. So if you've ever had to deal with anybody that can't hear, it's hard. And so we didn't work real hard to get this equipment for somebody back there not to care about it and leave it lay out in the open. And I do have a thank you to say to our fire department and our forestry for the fire that happened back on Twin Lakes. They were there immediately and stopped it. The man was arrested, so thank you to all of them.
I agree. Thank you, Ms. Parkman. Anybody else in the audience wishing to speak? Good morning, Mr. Spell.
John Spells, 106 Citrus Lane. I got well, 2 issues I'd like to bring before the board. One is, I can't understand on Moody Road, I picked up the debris and trash that blowed from around the old Amico building about 3.5 months ago. Somebody would come by there and dump 2 semi-tires, and I saw it along the road 3.5 months ago, and it's still sitting there along the road. And I can't understand how was it missed through all this time without me having to come and mention it or call it in. During the storm, I picked up some tree debris and went to the landfill, and I darn near had to get my birth certificate just to dispose it out to the landfill. But to me, anything, like that along the road, that length of time, it tells me that, people don't really care about people trying to keep the property clean. There's not a house on the property. Most of that trash blows in from the street. People throw it out. But I went by there and picked it up and put it right along the road, and it's still sitting there.
Where's that at, Mr.
Right there on Moody Road. Everybody go to Walmart and look right there on the side of the road and see it's been there. The grass done start growing up around it. But
Moody and 20?
Yeah, on Moody and 20.
Mr. Gass, you got? Okay, go ahead.
And see that kind of stuff there, what caused people to go on property and throw debris out in the woods, right there on Johns Road in Barden. It's right before you get to the little bridge. There's some debris been sitting out there. Somebody threw along the road. It's been there over 4 months. And I have seen the inmates go out there and pick up stuff that people actually going into the woods starting to dump. Federal Point Road, about 3 weeks ago, the inmates had to go and pick up debris. Somebody just drove off and just dumped. But y'all need to get a system where the people can actually carry this stuff to the landfill, because you're not getting anywhere sending inmates picking it up later, because people don't want to have to go through the interrogation and pay to get rid of it. They just dump it along the road. And my next thing is, kind of having a problem with, I normally watch the county meetings on television, but I noticed I hadn't been seeing it. A lot of times I won't be able to make it to the meeting, but I still like to know what's going on, so I don't understand why they stopped showing the meetings on television.
They are on, and they're getting loaded up within 2 days of our meetings.
Well, I haven't seen one now in a while.
Mr. Spells, go to our Putnam County website, and then click on watch the meeting, and I can guarantee you that my wife is watching them religiously now, but every 2 days, they're up within 48 hours.
On television?
On the YouTube channel, yes, sir.
Well, I don't have all of that. I just got a basic antenna. I was
Oh, you
getting
watch
it.
them on the other the Comcast channel?
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
gone now.
All right. Our IT director's in the back. Okay, I think I got a thumbs up that everything, they're working on that.
Okay, I like to see it.
Thank you, Mr. Spells. Okay. All right, is there anybody else in the audience wishing to speak to us? All right, seeing none, we're going to close our public comment portion of our meeting and go to our consent agenda. Gentlemen, we have an emergency item that we'd like to add there. Mr. Tompkins came to me this morning, and Mr. Attorney, how do we handle, we got to pass a motion to add it as an emergency item?
No, you don't need a motion to add it. You can bring it forward.
Okay.
Although it should, I think, be handled as a separate motion from, apart from the consent items.
Okay.
So if you want to do it first, or if you want to vote on the 2 consent agenda items and then deal with that one, however you want
Okay.
to.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion on items A and B.
I'll make a motion to accept these on the consent agenda.
Okay, we have proper motion on consent agenda item A and B.
I'll second it.
Proper second by Commissioner Pickens. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Mr. Tompkins, if you'll come up, we're going to add item C, Price Road, out in the west end of the county.
Good morning, everybody. Press Tompkins, Public Works Director. We just got confirmation from FP&L. They have offered to pave all of Price Road for us. It's part of their Coral Farms solar station they're putting in. And they, part of their due diligence was to maintain the road in the condition it's in. And with all the traffic coming in, they have offered to go ahead and pave the whole 1.7 miles of road for us. It's somewhere around $380,000 for this work. They just asked that the county would administer the contract and make sure it gets done correctly, and then they would pay the bill on it. And I just wanted approval from the board to go ahead with this. We're waiting for the final authorization from FP&L Corporate probably next day or two.
Mr. Tompkins, I have a question for you. They were going to maintain it in the current condition it was and kind of put it back, but we had a second phase going on, the county did, to resurface the rest of Price Road. This is going to eliminate that second portion of the county's responsibility. Is that correct?
That is correct. They're paving all of Price Road from where the pavement ends now to their entrance. So it's 1.7 miles. Their obligation was only for 1 mile, but they decided to go ahead and be a grateful neighbor and pave the whole road for us. And we are doing it to a higher level because of the truck traffic on it. We're actually putting down a leveling course and then putting down 2 inches of asphalt.
All right.
I have questions,
Yes, Ms. Poppel.
because this is the first I'm hearing of it. Do you have a contract?
We have contracts with Halifax right now.
No, with FP&L for the money.
They're going to send us an agreement. They're legal in the process of working on that now.
Okay, where are you going to pay for the paving from?
They're going to pay for it as soon as we get the invoice from the contractor. We will forward that to FP&L and they will forward a check to us.
Still have to issue a PO. Where are you going to pay for it from?
Then I guess we'll pull it out of Better Place plans right now.
Okay, you need permission for that.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to take it out of Better Place and then have FP&L reimburse Better Place money. It'd be just a washout of funds.
Yes, sir.
That's all that
Exactly.
would be. And we'll have to do in a budget. No, not with Better Place, we don't.
Better Place can probably temporarily absorb it.
Right, right, okay.
And
I'll
this,
still have to bring it to you with a budget amendment.
With a budget amendment?
Unanticipated revenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Attorney, are you okay with the going ahead without a legal agreement right now?
Yeah, if you go ahead, if that's the will of the board, go ahead and make a motion that authorizes either the chair or the administrator to execute an agreement with FPL consistent with what's been presented here today.
With review by you, though?
Correct.
Yeah, but need to be.
Certainly.
Okay.
and nothing we've done till we have a formal agreement in place, but FP&L wants to move quickly. They want to get it done before all the heavy construction takes place out there. So that's the reason why I brought it to you as early as I did.
One other question. What's that gonna look like, though, after the road is built? Are they, I mean, what if any?
If there's any damage done to the road, which we don't anticipate any, they would be responsible for it under their agreement.
Thank you. Okay, commissioners, the chair will entertain a motion.
A little more discussion, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind a bit.
Is this working? Testing, there we go.
There you go.
I'm a little perplexed, I guess, by the emergency status. Is this really an emergency? Or is there time to put a contract in place? Because if there is a indiscrepancy between the two parties, more than likely it's gonna land on the taxpayers of this county.
I'm gonna say it's not a true emergency, it's a very time-sensitive thing. They wanted to go ahead and get it done within the next couple of weeks. They assured me they'll have an agreement to me this week, which I'll get over to the county attorney and make sure everything's kosher with it. But it's time-sensitive, and by the time we took it to the Transportation Committee meeting or next board meeting, it would probably be a month away. And they want to get the work done prior to.
I'm
everything
okay
getting
with
done.
that part
But
of it.
I don't
really am,
foresee
but
any problem
I would
coming
like to
back
see,
on the taxpayers.
I would like to see council have something in place that would protect us. Is that possible?
Well, he's already said he was gonna review it prior to, it being approved as far.
Then there was discussion about potential damage to the road, and does that spell out who was responsible? Well, their current rezoning that they were granted for the solar farm requires them to maintain the road and correct any damage that's done, and that would apply equally whether it's a dirt road or whether it's paved at that
Fresh
point.
pavement.
So I think that would be covered under
That
the
helps me
existing
tremendously.
zoning.
Yeah.
Okay.
So nothing will be done until you get a contract to the attorney. The attorney looks over it, Mr. Manning does, gives it his blessing.
Absolutely,
And
yes, sir.
then based on what the board does today, we'll move forward at that time.
That is correct. Nothing we've done unless we have a valid contract, which is approval by our county attorney.
That's all I'm asking for.
All right, good deal.
I'll
Thank you, Mr.
support
Lyle.
the
That's-
measure.
I just have one question.
Yes, sir.
Florida Power and Light is paying the whole bill, everything.
Yes, sir, they're paving the whole 1.7
Any
mile.
engineering or anything that has to be done?
No, sir. It's a standard resurfacing that we do, normally that we do within our we had Price Road programmed in our thing, so this will save the taxpayers probably $100 and some thousand that FP&L's picking up the bill for.
And we've already done most of Price Road. We just kind of stopped right there where the solar farm, waiting on the solar farm to come in.
That's-
So this is a savings to the county. Whoa, hit the wrong thing. Sorry. Okay, good. Back up to life, yeah. All
Yes,
right.
sir. It is a significant savings for the county.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I move approval.
We have a proper motion by Commissioner Lible.
Is that for signature of the agreement by the chair or the administrator?
What would be
I
the
think we
chair?
need to go through the acting administrator.
Okay.
Isn't that proper? It is.
It certainly can go, either way, but it certainly makes sense, obviously, with the administrator.
Well, the sensitive time frame, it wouldn't come through the proper channels, as Mr. Press has indicated, so I think that it needs to go to the acting chair. In any other situation, it would come through our board chair.
Okay. We have a proper motion.
I'll second the
A
motion.
proper second by Commissioner Guyer. Let me restate that we are going to enter an agreement with FP&L using Better Place Plan money, be reviewed by the county attorney, and and Ms. Papel, our acting administrator, will sign the document when that's correct. Is that how I'm understanding the motion is?
To provide for funding reimbursement by
Interim
FPL.
funding.
Interim funding. Okay.
Thank you.
So, any other further discussion, commissioners? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. Tell FP&L we appreciate that too. The citizens will be happy out there about that. Okay, item 8, Code enforcement, page 16 and 19, fine reduction case, Ms. Jeannie Anderson. Mr. Sammons, you have the floor, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
The first case is 2005-01321. Jeannie Anderson is the sister of the owner, 306 Fifth Way, Interlochen. It's a fine reduction request. I attached a letter that she had sent me to the agenda. Basically, it was an unsafe mobile home. Length of time to achieve compliance was over 12 years. There's an 80-year-old woman with dementia. She owned it the whole length of the time. The sister finally realized that of the issue, and she came in and took care of it. The staff recommendations, the board accept for $734 in lieu of the $94,075 fine plus $100 administrative fee if it's paid within a year. She can only pay in installments, and that's why we extended it for the year. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Sammons. Any questions?
Is the homeowner with us today, Mr. Sammons?
She was going to try me. Yes, she's there.
We might ask if she would.
Why don't you come up, miss? Please state your name for the record, if you will, and your address.
I'm short.
That's okay.
My name is Jeannie Anderson, and I am here on behalf of my sister. This is her 80th year, and I'm having to deal with all that. But I love my sister, and things happened, and I wasn't aware, I guess, of all the length of time that there was fines being put on there, or I would have tried to take care of it before. I tried for 12 years almost to take care of it. But she is not like me. She is a very stubborn person, and her mind, you know, she's kind of gone downhill now. And I thought, well, the time came, the neighbor was doing some work on his place, and the codes enforcement came out. So they saw that again, and then they said something had to be done. So in a way, I thank the Lord for that, because it was done. Finally, I found this young man, and he took everything apart. Mobile home's gone, and all the inspection and everything was good. So, but we're both on low income, and neither one of us get even $800 a month. So if you can reduce it a little more, I would really appreciate it. And that's just about it.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Any questions?
Just of Mr. Sammons, if I could. So you've been out and inspected it, Mr. Sammons, and it's clear?
Code enforcement has, yes, I haven't.
And they were happy with it?
Yes, and the building inspectors, they had demolition permit. The building inspectors were out there and checked
These
it.
new reports are very vague. They don't give us much information, not like the old ones.
Well, everything's gone. It's all cleaned off, and as far as the property is concerned, I know these fines don't go against the property, they go against the person, right?
They go with the property.
The property?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, there was no lien or anything on it, so I didn't know. Now, does that have to all be taken care of before the property can be sold or given to someone?
Once you pay the amount of money the board sets today, you'll
Yeah.
be free and clear to go forward
Okay.
at that point.
Because the young man that cleaned it off, I'm giving him the property
Okay.
for doing that.
Doing that.
Because I didn't have the funds to pay.
Thank you. Mr. Sammons, I have a question.
Sure.
And I kind of started a spreadsheet, because when I first got here, there was a prominent real estate gentleman that came to see me about these fines and did not want them ever lowered, ever lowered. But it seems like $94,000 is a little eccentric on a piece of property that's probably not worth a whole lot of money.
That's true. That's why it's a conundrum, I guess. It's an issue where the state law requires the daily fine to continue until it's in compliance. This property is probably not worth $3,000. So, you know, nobody's going to pay $94,000. They're not even going to pay $10,000 for fines. It's just not going to happen. So,
it just shows the public. It looks like we're reducing the counties by $93,000 worth of expected income. We were never going to get that kind of money ever.
No.
Ever.
The problem is that they put the fines on there every day.
Yes.
But people don't have them, you know, people in Putnam County are poor.
Right.
I don't know about everybody, but I know a lot of them are. And they don't have that kind of money.
Well, there's a tipping point
If
too,
you did, you
right?
get it fixed.
I think where people go, I can't pay it, I'm gonna walk away.
Yeah.
I think we kind of maybe set that, but you're saying by state statute, we have to continue the daily fine.
The fine does, that's why we go through the fine reduction process, basically.
I hear you.
You know, if we didn't reduce the fine, this would become a county property.
Right.
It'd be in the county's name, and we have lots of those.
Right.
We don't want those.
Don't need it.
Commissioner Lible?
Well, it's, you know, the point of it is it's a motivator.
Right.
You know, to bring a property into compliance. It was never meant to be collected. I hate to use that word, but it's primarily a motivator. I think that, you know, most people that are in this situation know that there will be some wheeling and dealing, especially if the person gets into compliance in a timely manner. This board has always showed compassion to those kind of people. I'm willing to do it for this lady. She stepped up for her sister. The property got to where the county wanted it, and it's not coming back into our possession, as Mr. Sammons has just said. We just won, so let's take it forward.
Okay.
That's as good as this gets.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate
All right. Commissioners?
Thank you, ma'am.
What's your pleasure, Commissioner?
I would move to reduce this fine even further in half, under the circumstances we just heard. And we have that authority to do so when we want to. And I think this is one of those situations.
What's the number you proposed, Mr. Lible?
Half of that, I can't see very well today, excuse me. I think it's
Sammons, you got your-
734.
I'm sorry?
367.
$367. So Commissioner Lible, is that your motion?
That is my motion, thank you.
To reduce the accepted fee from $734, the staff recommendations, to $367.
So that'd be $30 a month instead of $60 a month.
Correct.
Yeah, payments of $30 per month. Is that sufficient? I hear us, okay. Yeah. Yes.
That's fine.
Yeah, you pay as much as you want till it's over with. Okay.
Thank you for stepping up and getting this done, Ms. Anderson.
And we do. Commissioner Lible says thank you, and we all thank you for stepping into that terrible situation and fixing it, and we wish your sister the best of health. So the motion on the floor is $367, $30 a month, until paid in full. That's the proper motion by Commissioner Lible.
I'll second that motion.
We have a proper second by Commissioner Goddard. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Sammons, next case, 2015-0079, Sandra Hedrick.
Yep, this is at 373 State Road 207. It's also an unsafe home. Length of time to achieve compliance was 11 months. There is no lien on the property at the present time. Length of time was the whole time. And the staff has recommended the board accept $530 in lieu of the $1,875 fine plus $100 fee if it's paid within 180 days. And I can give you more details. I was asked not to give you more detail previously, so I
I
can
like
give
the
you.
photographs.
Okay, I can do photographs.
Ms. Hedrick here today?
I'm not sure. I don't think she is.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioners, any comments for Mr. Sammons? All right, the chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept this.
Staff recommendation, is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Accept the staff's recommendation of $530.
Okay, we have a proper motion by Commissioner Goddard,
I'll second it.
proper second by Commissioner Pickens. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a 10 o'clock certain, and it's 10:04. Proposed ordinance, public hearing, repealing Article 5, Sections 121 to 139 of Chapter 40 of the Code relating to local business taxes. See, the Honorable Linda Myers is in the audience today. So would you like to come up and speak a little bit about this? And then we'll...
Good morning, Mr. Chair, board, staff, members, and clerk of courts. Yes, sir. As you know, we've been working on this for a couple of years. I don't know how much we want to go over. We've certainly worked at a workshop with all four of you. I think at the time there may have been five, and went through the issues that surround this ordinance, specifically the inefficiency of it, the double burden on city-county businesses, the lack of understanding that it's not a quality measure. So there are 4 or 5 major points that we've gone over and asked that the best use of resources, both planning, fire marshal, and our office would be to not have this ordinance on the books.
Plus, it gives the citizens a false sense of security.
Yes,
Just
sir.
because someone has a license.
It is not a quality statement in any way, shape, or form. And it's a misunderstood by many of the businesses on the whole purpose. The fact that this board is considering actually saying to their businesses, we are going to roll back something that we feel is a burden on you and inefficient is a big statement in itself.
I agree. Thank you very much, Ms. Meyer. Board members, any questions?
I'd just like to point out the fact that it costs more to implement this tax receipt than it does to, it brings in.
That's correct. Very inefficient use of our resources.
Yes.
Other questions?
No, with that, I motion for approval.
Well, we have to go to, it's a public
Oh, it's a
hearing.
hearing, I'm sorry.
So we do have to hear
I'm
from
going
the.
to step down unless
Yes,
there's a
ma'am.
question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer.
Okay, is anybody here in the public wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Repeal. Anybody opposed? Anybody opposed? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public section of our ordinance, and Commissioner Lible.
Okay, again, I thank Ms. Myers, our tax collector, for bringing this forward, and I move approval of this measure.
Okay, we have a proper motion to repeal Article 5, Section 121 to 139 of Chapter 40 of the Code relating to local business taxes. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a proper second by Commissioner Pickens. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Done. Thank you. Okay, next item, item number 10, discussion county administrator position. Just want to let I will call Ms. Allen to the podium for just a moment, but I do want the public to know that next Monday, I believe our time is 9:30, if I'm not mistaken, that we're going to be, no, 1:30. 1:30, we're having a workshop to set the criteria for the search committee for a new county administrator. And you'll be getting those documents to us early enough to start massaging those. But that's important because the criteria is how we're going to charge that new committee to go forward at that point. So, Ms. Allen, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, commissioners, everyone. Yes, that is correct. I had a conference call with Mr. Craig Coffey, who's the county administrator with Flagler County, who is going to be taking the lead and be appointed with the Florida Association of Counties program that you approved on your April 10th meeting. Mr. Coffey is putting together the agreement, and I should be forthcoming for signature, so as soon as that arrives, I will give it to you, along with some additional information, homework, if you will, for you to prepare. And I've asked for some information from each of you already, your bios and things for the committee that will be working with you.
And he's from Flagler County?
He is from Flagler County, as well as his deputy administrator, Sally Sherman, and there are a few others that'll be joining the group. So I think you're going to be happy with the team, and they're very excited to be appointed. So I think it's going to be a very good process for everyone. As agreed at the last workshop, you did mention that it was okay with the special workshop on May 1st at 1:30 p.m., and the representatives are going to be ready to organize that process and pull the board and work towards the goal of posting the county administrator's job. And they have confirmed that date and time, so we're all set. But one area that I needed to correct with you from our April 10th workshop had to do with the appointment of our interim, and I gave you some information in my packet on task 1. And that had to do with the deputy county administrator budget officer's job description. I just wanted you to know that although the chain of command placed Ms. Papel as acting county administrator. Her job description does not address that. So in effect, she's been working out of class without a pay adjustment that we normally would do for someone who's in an acting position. So I wanted to bring that forward for the commission to consider. I do have a copy of the job description if you would like it. Would you like
Go ahead
me
and
to-
pass them out.
Okay.
Yeah. Make sure Tony gets a copy for the record. Ms. Allen, Commissioner Lible, again, his eyes are not working that well today.
I got this earlier, though,
Okay.
for my procedure.
Okay. All right, so if you could,
Usually job descriptions, if it's a required duty, it would state that in the job description that Ms. Papel's job would make her acting. But what the county has been using, and what I alluded to in my memorandum, it was a regular assigned duty by our chain of command document, which does not address pay. It's more along the lines of if someone's absent for a day or two or a week for vacation, the chain of command would assume that role. It goes from the deputy administrator to the county attorney to the human resources director, and on down, public works director would be the last. So that's the chain of command that was in place at that time.
so the county attorney is in that chain of command also?
Yes, in her absence, and he would be the next. So that's how it lies. So my question to the board is, we have to make a decision, of course, with the interim, what's going to happen at some point. But since she's been working out of class since March 28th, per our policy, she really should be compensated at some point. And the practice has been arranged from 10 to 35%, as I mentioned previously. Mr. Castleberry was interim county administrator the last time we had a search. His salary was adjusted $2,500 a month, which equated to 35% of his current salary at that time. In my proposal, I recommended a pay adjustment between $1,000 and $1,500, considering our budgetary constraints, and that ranges between 12% and just under 20%. Also, I was hoping for direction if you wanted me to seek out an interim with Florida Association of Counties, or something that you wanted to give me direction on to do today.
I have questions.
Commissioners.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Bob.
No, we had interest from other department heads. How are you handling that?
Well, I haven't been given any direction. I got a email transferred to me, but if the board wishes to set up interviews or whatever you'd like to do, I'm all ears.
Okay. With that being said, I think that giving the situation at this point, that in all fairness, we should consider something along these lines, Commissioners. We're one short, and there is interest. How much interest is there? I know we have at least three different department heads, counting Ms. Papel.
I'm not aware of the third, but I know at the April 10th meeting, our director from Public Works stepped forward, and I was forwarded an email from Angie Wisnett.
That's the three, and Mrs. Papel also.
Oh,
So you have three.
Four then. Did Mr. Salmon send an email?
Mr. Sammons did send an email.
So that's correct.
I wasn't copied on that. I'm not aware of that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, almost a
Okay.
month ago, he sent an email that he would like to. Well, I guess the first order of business then is does the commission want to go for an interim and open it up to everyone? And I think that's the question that needs to be asked. Is that correct?
Well, that's one of the issues, but to date, Ms. Papel's been working since March 28th without any adjustment, and she has requested assistance with her role. Maybe she can expound on that a little further for y'all.
Yeah, and I've seen her here weekends and emails early in the morning, late at night. Ms. Papel, let's go back and revisit what you need to be an effective budget administrator right now. So what can we help you with?
Let's look at the county admin department right now.
Okay.
We're short one person. We're short half a person in that we're job sharing Tabitha's position in between county admin and legal. And we're about to be short another position with a retirement in June. So we have a county admin department that's effectively drowning. And I know you had a hope that it would be all hands on deck, all oars in the water, and it really hasn't been. There have been oars in the water, but they haven't all been pulling in the same direction, from my observation. I'm behind. I'm keeping up as best I can, but I'm not doing as well as I could do at either position doing both. So I need administrative help. I think Ms. Laster would like to move full-time to legal, and I think we should look at filling that position. Both positions were budgeted, and I think we should look at filling that position so when you do hire a county administrator, you have somebody in-house that isn't first day. I also need budgetary help in some way or another. Somebody that I can hand tasks to. I really need the assistance to do the job right. If I'm going to continue doing both jobs, I've got to have some support. I did work up a cost sheet for you that'll let you know whatever decision you make, what costs you're looking at.
Ms. Popel, as you're making your way back to your seat, the last time this came, well, even today, the board kind of implied to you that you will be signing documents as the acting administrator, gave you that authority today. So, in my opinion, it seems like we've implied that you are. And
I have been signing
and you have
documents
been.
for 4
Yes,
weeks now.
no doubt you have been. So, but we also tasked you with, at the last meeting, to basically, if you needed help, you were to inquire from each board member and move forward at that point. So have you moved forward at that?
I have been able to talk to 3 of you.
Okay.
I haven't received any opposition in looking for help.
Okay.
But I have no interest in continuing as acting county administrator without some assistance.
Well, you possibly can't do that, yeah. Okay. Commissioners?
If it's open for discussion, what we're looking at is you being the interim for now and getting a pay increase and being able to hire an assistant that will eventually take Tabitha's place. Am I correct?
And that could be seeking a full-time benefited employee, or it could be seeking a temporary employee that may or may not work temp to perm.
Right.
That way, whoever you hire could decide whether they wanted to retain that employee as a full-fledged employee or not. We can go more than one direction with that. I've put agendas together. I mean, we've had vacations. We have vacations coming up. Ms. Laster's going to be gone the last 2 weeks of July. This is too much without assistance.
Right.
And you've left me not as interim, but you've made me something less as acting.
Yes.
And it's been a little tenuous position.
And I've come to you.
You have.
I've come to you. I've come to Stacy. Stacy and Stacy. So I've come to both of y'all and needed your expertise in matters that are pertinent to the county. So for the public's record, let me just, the sheet you passed out.
You want
'cause
me to go over it?
Well, they don't get an opportunity to see it, but what I'd like for you to explain is basically what you're referring to is unused money that was budgeted through, this is the county administrator's leftover salary,
It's
correct?
actually more than that.
Okay.
We budgeted for a county administrator for the entire year. We budgeted for my position for an entire year. We budgeted for Ms. Lassiter's position for an entire year. And we're only paying half of her salary now because there's a job share going on. We budgeted for Ms. Burgess' position for an entire year, and she's going to retire in June. We have to absorb her payout of unused vacation and a portion of unused sick. And we budgeted for all of Yvonne's position for the entire year. I did a financial forecast. We also budgeted $5,000 for temp help. I forecast out what we were actually going to spend for the year if nothing changed from today. And there'll be about $110,000 left. If Tabitha moves over to legal, that frees up another $25,000, then we'd have $135,000. Then we start spending it. Fill the admin position, pay for the county admin search, compensate me, compensate whoever you choose as interim. That's the unknown number that you have about $87,000 left to play with if, worst case scenario, the county admin search costs 20 grand, and I don't think it will. That's thinking of if you fly in 3 candidates to interview and put them up, that's worst case scenario.
I've never got flown in for a job interview.
Yeah, I worst case, most expensive scenarioed each item, and it left $87,000. Now, bear in mind, we have competing unbudgeted uses for all available funds in the general fund right now because we had a lot of costs the very first week of the fiscal year with the hurricane. Costs we're going to have to absorb because they will, whatever portion is reimbursed, the reimbursement is more likely than not going to come this year. We also have whatever the supervisor of elections legal fees are that's been in the news lately. I'm anticipating at some point the supervisor of elections not to have enough funds in his budget to pay all those bills and a request to come to us.
But historically, the constitutional officers, including him, give money back that we budgeted inside the general fund for money back.
We do budget very conservatively for
Right.
a reimbursement from the constitutionals.
Right. So there is some money expected back to the general fund from his department. But this lawsuit could make that null and
Could
void.
eat that and then some.
And then some, correct.
But it's not guaranteed.
No, there are no guarantees. This is all could happens. I didn't want to be a county administrator when I grew up. I still don't want to be a county administrator when I grow up. I'll be happy to help you, but I can't do it without help. So if you can't get me help, where do you want to put it?
My concern is the learning curve and bringing someone even in from somewhere else at a time we're trying to deal with a very difficult budget. I just think that would just kind of upset the apple cart here. And I look at it like, right now we're moving forward. We're trying to get everything handled. If you didn't have a budget looming, this probably wouldn't be an issue, but you have
No, it wouldn't be.
you have a budget looming here in the next few weeks, actually starting next week.
I'm already working on it.
I know you are, and I know you are. A question I have before I turn it over, we've already budgeted 5,000 for temporary help.
Yes.
Even in last year's budget with Mr. Leary here.
Yes, because I expected to need some.
Okay, to get, because last year we didn't even have a budget book. We didn't get that.
No, I didn't have time, and you have advised me that we will have one this year.
Well,
And
the
we
public-
won't if I don't have help.
The public needs that, so, all right, commissioners.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I
Mr.
strongly
Lowell.
suggest at this time, and I would like to know that what our obligation to the people that have applied and expressed interest in the interim position of county manager, what our obligation to them is. And that's very important. And with that being said, I think at the first available time that we should interview these people and come up with that person. And there's a time period that we have to notice for have a public meeting. But I think in fairness of the situation, this should be sought.
Ms. Allen.
May I? The position of interim county administrator has not been advertised or posted internally or externally. That direction has not come forward. So at this point, to interview staff on board, I mean, that would be solely at the commission's desire, but there may be other interested internal applicants that we're not aware of, since we have not posted or advertised it.
You know, my concern and about an interim that would like to seek the job of county administrator is that we might scare off people from inside the county or outside the county who go, you just hire your interims anyway, this is a waste of our time. I don't want that to ever be seen for Putnam County, because I want to hire the best possible person to move us into the future of Putnam County, and I believe our future is bright. So my concern, very frankly, is if we go the interim route and we open it up for in-house interviews, and those people want to be the interim, I mean the county administrator going in the future, I think that's going to be detrimental to us. And I strongly believe that.
That was what I heard at the April 10th
Yes, you did.
workshop, that it seemed like
Well, what's the difference between acting and interim? I mean, can you answer that for me? Because I'm fine with acting with a few more dollars in salary, but is there really that big of a difference between acting and interim? Or is
well, it's how you look at it, but interim is usually a designated time period when you're actively seeking a replacement to fulfill that position that's vacated. Acting, it could roll back and forth to certain people through a chain of command, which is what our current system is set up as. And that's through the chain of command directive. But the big difference, usually acting, you may be doing it for a couple of days or weeks, and there's usually not a pay adjustment. When you appoint someone as interim and you give them that responsibility, usually pay is associated with that, because you're holding them accountable for doing that job. So there is a difference. Acting also is helpful for signing documents and things of that nature, but it's never been intended for a long period, over 2 weeks vacation or so, or maybe someone's illness. And our practice has even been up to a week, we would provide someone acting pay.
Okay, I have another question, because this is a concern of mine. What would be the job duties of an interim? Would they be able to hire, fire, because the worst thing we can do is get somebody in here who's going to completely mess things up right now when we're trying to move forward. And I have grave concerns about that someone said, maybe it's somebody who's worked under somebody and now they want to, I'll show you, I want to do it my way now. We don't need any rogue type situation taking place right now.
Mr. Chairman.
So what would those job duties be?
Mr. Chairman, those job duties would include the budget. I'm your budget officer, but statutorily, the county administrator brings the budget to the board.
Well,
Your county administrator, whether it be interim or acting or permanent, has all the exact same responsibilities and duties.
With that being said, I'm a little nervous about Mrs. Propel's request for someone to assist her in this budget and the additional duties that we're putting on her. It's no reflection at all to your capabilities, but you're talking to us right now. You're telling us
I am. I'm
what your
telling you
needs are.
exactly how it is.
And I hear you. And what I want to do is put you back into where we hired you. You're very good. And if I'm for compensating you for the time you've spent, and I'm also for adding an additional employee through this this is the most important budget I've ever seen in a decade.
I agree.
We have to get it right, or the best it can be. It's not going to be right. It's going to be the best we can do. And I think you agree with that.
I do.
At this point. And we have to have that, commissioners. We really do. And with that being said, council, I would like to appoint someone today, if we're in, to serve as that interim county manager, if we're on legal footing to do so, and being fair to all the employees that express interest. I need to know where we are there. I don't want to end up adding a lawsuit or something like that. It costs us additional dollars. I mean, we're walking on eggshells. But this decision, the quicker it's made, the more we can realize our goals and what we need to do and fill those positions that you mentioned that are coming, they're open now. And we have a couple more that will soon be open. So we have to get back to our business, and soon. Not create more, can't put it all on your shoulders, I'm sorry.
And it
you're
has
saying
been.
that.
Yeah, I agree. It can't be all on my shoulders.
Okay.
Commissioner Goddard?
Yes, Ms. Papel, now.
Wait,
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Chairman, if I could, please, I want to know from council what his feelings are.
Well,
That was
the
a
board
question.
has full authority to make an appointment of an interim today,
Okay, with no ramifications.
with no ramifications.
Okay.
Certainly, the folks that have expressed an interest in that appointment, I believe the appropriate avenue to express that interest is through the HR director. She is the head of that department. And I don't know that I've heard that anybody has expressed that interest through her, and that hasn't been passed on to you all. As far as I know, you have all the names of those folks that have expressed an interest.
So theoretically, could we have a discussion at today's workshop and make that decision, considering all those people?
Well,
Given HR time to collect up those names?
you certainly could. As I've said in the past, it's always a preference not to make, decisions at workshops, official decisions.
Okay.
You
Then
can, it's allowable. There's
Then
nothing
we
that
can
says
close
you
it.
can't. I mean, there are advertised open meetings. We have a court reporter there. We keep minutes. The public, it's open to the public. So it is a public meeting. It can be done in a workshop.
All right, well,
But
following
the
your
preference
lead-
is that it be at a meeting such as this.
Following your legal advice, then we should do it right now.
Well, you certainly can.
Well, Commissioner Goddard?
Yeah,
Are you done,
I'd just
Commissioner?
like,
I am,
Okay.
for right now.
like to speak to Ms. Papel. Ms. Papel, now, you feel confident, this is an if you became the interim and you could hire someone to replace Tabitha, which is not going to be that's going to be a very difficult project. Because she's not going to be easy to replace.
Yeah, she's not easy to replace.
Do you feel confident that you could handle this if you were the interim and you could hire help?
I would, if it were me, I would bring somebody in as a temp in Tabitha's position, and I would bring in a short-term, part-time budgetary temp. And I would charge forward.
That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
So what I'm hearing today is before we leave this item, that we're going to create a position as interim and possibly assign someone. Is that what I'm hearing today?
Yes.
I do have some comments on this.
Okay, hang on just a minute. Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't think that's what you heard.
What am I hearing?
You had the request for 3 positions, actually.
Okay. But those are internal, so that's the whole different.
Okay.
There are approved slots, okay?
Right.
The county administrator is an approved slot. The administrative assistant, that's not the correct title, but the administrative assistant in the county admin department is an approved slot.
Okay.
The temp budgetary help is a temp slot. It's not a budgeted position. It's truly temporary help.
Okay. Commissioner Pickens.
Yeah, as we're talking about the individuals who are employed by the county that have expressed an interest in filling that position, this is in no disrespect to Ms. Papel, Ms. Wisnott, or Press Tompkins, but as I mentioned, I believe in the last workshop, I believe that it would be in the best interest of the county to bring in a former county administrator that has experience in Florida to come in and assist us through the budget process, let Ms. Papel do her job, what she was hired to do. If she needs some temporary help, I agree with that. For him to come in, he has no skin in the game. He has experience in Florida, so I believe the remarks to me that it would be hard to bring them up to speed. I don't think that would take that long of a time, especially if they're from a neighboring county. They probably have similar issues just like us. So they could come in and work with staff, help us with the process of hiring a permanent county administrator, which I do believe is the biggest hire, one of the biggest hires that this commission's had to do in a long time, and in such an important position. And then at the end of his interim position, to be able to give us an unbiased opinion of how our county is operating and make suggestions to us. You know, somebody from outside that has not worked in our system, that can work for our people. We have great people, there's no question about that. But as you're talking about, as Ms. Papel will have to adjust, and she was hired to do budgets. Press Tompkins, I have the utmost confidence in him. He was hired to do public works. I'm not doubting that they can't do the job, and Ms. Wisnott was hired for recreation. So I think we need to really consider, if we're gonna consider those 3 and interview them, that at least let us turn to Chris Doolin from the Small County Coalition that fights for us every day and get recommendations from him. And I have a recommendation, and I've spoken with this gentleman. He is interested. He's from Columbia County. And then get with the Florida Association of Counties. They have to be able to give us some assistance. We're working with FACM, you know, as we move through the process. But I think we at least need to look at that as we move forward.
If I could, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, please.
Mr. Pickens. I agree with you. I have spoken with Mr. Doolin too, and I'm familiar with that person, and I'm very capable. But you do have an additional expense, and that's about the only comment. I could support that. I really could. If the other board members thought that might be prudent, or interview them all. I'm not sure. It's kind of blind if I don't know this person that well, just an introduction before, but I think it could be very wise and beneficial, like you said. A lot of experience there, but I wouldn't want that person to be able to apply for the permanent position.
I agree with you there.
Okay.
And I would take the lead if it's the will of the commission
Well, your theory won't work if that's allowed.
Exactly, to move forward, and I'll be glad to work with Ann and contact Chris Doolin and then Florida Association of Counties to get a few recommendations, and set up where we could interview, if that's where we're going to go to interview the three individuals that are already employed with the county.
Thank you, Commissioner Pickens. I too have someone, and I've had someone. But again, as Commissioner Lible said, there is an extra expense there. And I'm not sure that that person doesn't want to be the full-time county administrator when that time comes. So, and Ms. Allen, I want to ask you a question. If the board so chooses to move in the direction of hiring a temporary interim county administrator, what do you foresee the length of time that it would take to get someone here? Because next Monday we have to set the criteria, budget for this committee to work on. What do you see the time frame of that happening?
Is that with you interviewing this person?
Well, we'd all have to interview.
And
It'd all have
getting
to
you
be
together
public
to do
record.
so?
It would all be, then we'd have to vote on it.
It would depend on their availability and your availability to meet the deadline for interviews. Probably 3 to 4 weeks, maybe. Not sure. I don't know if Mr. Doolin has someone ready to go that's able to find housing and whatever.
Would we have to advertise that, and is there a requirement for that? I guess that, we need to know those timeframes, because if we're looking outside 2 months here, we got a committee searching.
If we're going to use the Members in Transition program with the Florida League of Cities or with the Florida Association of County Managers, we can post it in that organization, but usually it's an agreement or it's like a consultant that we could identify and bring forward under some form of an agreement, but there will be a cost associated with that that's unknown at this time.
But we would interview privately.
You could.
And then we would bring it up at a future meeting to discuss who we liked. Is that how that would go, or?
Well, you could have a ranking system, and I believe either one of those entities would assist in that endeavor. Or I could, share how we do it here, but it shouldn't be that complicated, but it will be more time-consuming and costly. And whatever direction you give me, I will try to do my best to work toward that goal.
But in the meantime, we're talking 4 weeks out, 3 to 4 weeks out. In the meantime, we have a person doing the job now that we're all going to, and we have a situation there. So, Commissioner Goddard, you look like you want to say something.
I do. Because Ms. Pell says she's very confident that she can handle this. We're talking a temporary interim.
Wait, that's not what Ms. Propel said.
She says
Ms.
she's
Propel, speak for
confident.
yourself, please. That's not what she said.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood.
Yes.
I can't go on working 20, 25, 30 extra hours a week. One night last week, I was here till past 11. I can do it if I can charge forward, get help. If I can't charge forward and get help, I can't do this limbo for 4 more weeks.
Commissioner Goddard, that gives us somebody, excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
That has no experience with our budget and our departments or anything, and that makes me nervous. I would just want to make sure, I said it before, but I want to make sure.
All right, I guess.
I'm hearing that
I'm
from our budget officer.
When I said confident.
An outsider during this budget makes me nervous too.
Thank you.
So you feel confident, that's my thing, is you're confident if you become the temporary interim and you can hire help.
No.
You can hire in the help to help you. You're confident that you can handle this.
If I can hire administrative help and
Yes.
budgetary help.
Correct.
So that I would be the person doing the budget, but I could say, enter these numbers, proofread this, lay out this page this way in a budget book to be created, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That if there was an agenda that needed to be made, or after I'd signed a bill, if somebody could stuff it in an envelope and, if I had somebody to help me with all the moving parts and somebody to help me with the budget, then yes, I can go on. Part of my job is budget, but the other part is deputy county administrator. And I do have my fingers in a lot of pies because of that. I have my finger in when we post positions. I have my finger in all of the capital projects. Well, most of the capital projects. I don't always know, obviously, everything that's going on in public works. I can do it, but I can't go on like it is now. I just can't.
I guess if I can, and this one also be Mr. Manning, if Ms. Papel became the temporary interim and we gave her authority to go ahead and hire these places that she needs, then we can go out and we can entertain others that are going to apply for the temporary interim position. But in the meantime, Ms. Papel would be able to operate this, and we could be operating, let's say, for 4 weeks. And then if we decide that we're going to put somebody in that position, we address it at that time.
So your question to me, can we legally
do that?
Appoint a temporary interim administrator today, and then at some point in the future, appoint a different person to be the interim administrator until the permanent is hired? Is that the question?
Right. If
legally, yes.
Okay.
I have a question for Stacy. When you said an outsider with this budget concerns you, can you explain that? Were you talking about an outsider as far as?
Whoever you bring in as whatever you want to call them, county administrator, stopgap county administrator, will then have the statutory obligation, as I understand it. They are the one that is responsible for the budget I'm creating. So it's going to be a time vacuum of me explaining our budget is, we have many, 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 many funds. And there's a lot of moving parts in between the funds. We have big unknowns with the insurance fund. This is going to be a tricky and difficult budget. And to have to become Putnam County's budget teacher to whoever comes in, as well as explaining it to you guys and explaining it to the public, it's still going to be 20 or 25 extra hours a week.
And you know, that bothers me as an employer. I understood all hands on deck and all oars in the water and get a pizza, kick off your shoes and do the work. But that takes advantage of people. And I think that that's what we need to look at here is, in my opinion, we're taking advantage of people by asking them. I don't mind asking them to do their job, but over and above, that's not a fair way to treat employees. And we are your employer, and that's not a fair way of doing that.
Well, and you are working me out of class.
I hear you. I hear you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Mr. Lible.
Question for Mr. Pickens. Have you had direct contact with any of the people that Mr. Doolin has suggested?
I've had contact with one, yeah, Dale Williams.
And Mr. Williams would be available
He would
in
be
a timely
available.
manner?
That, we would have to nail that down. He would have to work into the situation, but he's definitely interested in assisting the county in any way he can.
I would caution us to name names today. I don't know if we really want to do that, because I'm not willing to name my person, because I did not have that specific I don't think we should do that right now.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, based on what you just said, though, and what our budget officer is relaying to us, that this is rather unusual and difficult, and she shouldn't have to spend those extra hours.
Right.
I'm for compensating her to this point, but I'm also for getting any names that might come forward on this board, including in-house, up for interviews as fast as possible. Whatever we can do legally, I looked at next Tuesday, is that possible? They need to be here in this building to be interviewed by us. And let's put an end to this and get
I
going.
don't think we could advertise in that time frame. I mean,
Do
that's
it on
up
the
to
bulletin board
Ms. Allen,
outside.
you've heard Commissioner Lible. What do you?
Are
what
you
do
speaking of advertising to the outside or just internally with internal staff or using?
Both. But I know that we can advertise legally on that bulletin board out front. And I wanted, that's legal, isn't it, Mr. Manning? And you don't have to go through your
It certainly
regular-
is. I'm assuming you're talking about advertising for applicants for the position.
exactly.
You would also need to consider, if you're going to ask those applicants to be interviewed by the board, it would need to be individual board members who then could not discuss it until it comes back before you in a meeting, or interview before you as a sitting board here in this room in a properly advertised meeting. Each of those has its challenges.
Commissioner Lible, may I ask a question?
Sure.
We don't even know what we want to pay them yet. We're going to do that next week. When we sit down next Monday at 1:30, we're going to set the criteria for the new county administrator, salary range, and believe me, some of the last issues were not done properly. We need to get this done properly. So my point is, if we start setting interviews for next Tuesday, we don't even know the guidelines we're dealing with.
What
right
time
now.
is that meeting Monday?
1:30.
Okay.
We could easily, if we're going to move in that direction of looking for an outside temporary county administrator, we could bring that up at that meeting at 1:30 with criteria and then go out for advertisement after that, in my opinion.
I think time is of the essence right now,
Okay.
more than anything. You're hearing a very strong plea from our employee right now. And to stretch this out, I don't think is what we need to be doing. This can be resolved pretty fast. And I think that we will have a new county administrator pretty fast, based on what I just heard today.
Gosh, I hope.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, we would have a new temporary, but we're not sure how fast the,
No, I hope you hire somebody.
yeah, I know what you'd like.
Just
and-
moving along just fine, if
Yeah.
we let it.
And we're gonna let it. I mean, the meeting's next Monday at 1:30. That's when we set the time. But what we got now, basically, is this. If we're going to that direction, if we're looking for a temporary county administrator who will not be able to apply for the permanent position,
You couldn't stop them from applying, but you could certainly not consider their application, make that clear.
okay? But we have a situation that needs to be dealt with right now that's gonna take us about 3 to 4 weeks to look for a temporary, and that's naming someone and you, Commissioner Lible just mentioned that that you are in favor of paying that person now
Oh,
for
absolutely.
the extra work. Okay.
Absolutely.
I was just trying to get my,
No question about that. She needs to be compensated. No question about that.
okay. All right, so this board needs to give Ms. Allen some directions, so let's try to land this plane now, if we will.
What do you want from us?
Well,
I spoke my mind.
well, I've spoke my mind as far as I appreciate it. We all have. And let me say, that's what we have to do. You know, we're not in division up here. We're just speaking our minds, and we're 4 individual people. And I think that's a good start. But we have to have this out in public. In a private world, we would do it in the back, and we would talk about how we hire someone. But that doesn't happen in the public world. So,
If I might, it seems the most pressing issue from today and what I'm hearing is a decision on compensation for Ms. Papel for the extra work she's been doing. And then a decision by the board, and both of these would need to be at board action on at least naming a temporary appointment interim county administrator until whatever time you decide you may want to bring somebody else in, or maybe you won't want to, but.
I'm prepared for that. I would like to,
And I don't need your permission, but I would certainly like to have a consensus on moving forward, getting temporary help in.
Well,
I think I have that, but that doesn't require a board action because that's at the discretion of administration. But considering the situation, I don't want to just blatantly do something that you guys aren't for.
So your recommendation, let's take this one bite at a time. Temporary help, you need 2 people right now, 1 budgetary, 1 administrative assistant. They're going to be not employees, they're going to be contract employees, right, going into the future. You will interview those people, you will hire those people, correct?
Indeed.
Am I correct in saying?
You are correct.
And you will set the salaries based on the money.
HR
that-
guidelines.
And the money we have in the current budget.
Absolutely.
Okay.
council, that's, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Chair, council, and all she needs is a consensus from us on that?
Well, she doesn't need anything from you on that.
You have my consensus.
I want consensus from you on
You
that.
have
I hear you. I've heard you the whole evening.
You have Commissioner Lible, you have Commissioner Goddard,
I'm fine with it.
Commissioner Pickens,
Okay.
and myself. You have
Okay.
a majority, go right ahead and do what you've got to do.
Then I would like to offer a motion that we compensate Mrs. Propel from the 28th of March until currently, the set amount or the amount stated by HR Director Ann Allen.
Was that amount was what, Ms. Allen? $1,500?
I gave a range between 1,000 to 1,500, but our practice, because the county administrator is a different job than a department director, our policy is a range from up to 10%, but for the administrator, the practice has been 10 to 35%.
Hang on a minute, I messed up on the rules of order here. We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Lible. Do we have a
Let
second?
me refine my motion.
Okay, sir.
$1,500.
$1,500 from March 28th to future.
Yeah.
$1,500 a month.
A month, yeah.
Okay, we have a proper motion by Commissioner Lible to pay Mrs. Popel $1,500 a month retroactive to March 28th.
If I could clarify, while she's acting county administrator.
That's right.
And I'll
Or-
second that.
Well,
Or,
Whatever title
The
you
title
give,
is.
stopgap
You
county
can't make my
administrator.
motion for me. I
no, I'm
just
not,
said
he was
motion on
asking.
there.
It's, okay, the question on the floor from, we had a second, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so now we can discuss. The question on the floor was while she's acting or filling in the duties of county administrator? Which one
Period.
is? How do you feel?
That's good, period.
Okay,
End it right there. $1,500 a month.
you clear with that, legal, Mr. Manning? So if she's acting or however she fills the role of administrator, she gets paid that $1,500 retroactive. That's what I'm hearing.
yeah, okay.
You're okay with that?
Yeah, I'm expecting a second action regarding the interim because that still doesn't address interim.
I agree with that.
And I have another motion I'd like to
I agree with
make
that.
right after this one,
Okay.
Mr. Manning.
All right, Ms. Allen, you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Any other further discussion? We have a proper motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign. The ayes have it.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I have an additional, based on what I've heard today from Ms. Propel, I would like to introduce a motion suggesting that our Public Works Director fill in to give Ms. Propel the time to work with Ms. Allen to hire these 2 people and get focused back on the budget. And I guess my motion would state Mr. Press would be temporary until the interim is found, or whatever we decide to do as far as, it gives us time for the interview process. And I do think there are gains to be made here by Mr. Tompkins working on this side of the river in these offices, seeing what Ms. Propel does, and every department over here. I think there could be efficiencies gained by putting me in that position just temporarily. I think it would work for us. I really do, and allow you to get back on track and not be so stressed. I mean, I hear it from you. I really do.
Okay.
Is there an amount you're proposing with your motion for the compensation of Mr. Tompkins as interim?
The same, I'm sorry, $1,500 a month, no different. I should have added that, I apologize.
So your motion is to appoint as a temporary county administrator with no future plans of applying for the job at $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
That would be.
And I chose
That would be temporary interim county
Right.
administrator.
And I chose Mr. Tompkins to be fair to Ms. Wisnot, because Ms. Wisnot has expressed concerns of becoming the permanent thing, to be fair there. I mean, I'm not choosing one or the other. We need to move forward, and we need to have a little time to get the interim in place. And I can't think of another way to do it but this, at this point. And I really do believe there are gains to be had by knowledge sharing amongst our department heads. This could be an opportunity for us. I hope we can view it that way, get that teamwork back in our team right now that we're missing. You know, this is a very critical time, and we have not been communicating. I think everybody sitting up here right now would say that, and I don't like it. So let's move forward. Can I get a second from somebody, please?
I think we're communicating very well right now, but yes, there's a proper motion on the floor. Proper motion on the floor.
I'll second it, just to discuss it
Okay, we have discussion
some
time.
more.
We have a proper second. I'm sorry, Tony, Mr. Pickens.
Chip, I'll just explain a little bit more. Ms. Papel what is her position right now that we just did?
She's temporary.
So she's temporary, and then Press will come in as the interim until we.
Yeah, and Press is missing no personnel for our conversation's sake. He has got people, he assured us, he's met with every one of us, that he can carry, the Public Works Department can carry on. And I firmly believe in his absence for a week, 2 weeks, it's not gonna be a long period of time, that he will come over and relieve Ms. Propel to get back and get those two hirees that are very important right now in our inner staff over here done. It's very important. She's saying it. She just said it to us today.
I'd gladly, if the motion passes, he could hire the Ms. Lassiter position, and I could just hire the budget position.
I would like both of you to work on it and work together, and if you could include him in just all the duties. And then he goes back to Public Works with a little more working knowledge than he had ever before. That's always been a disconnect with our Public Works directors. They're on that side of the river, and there's always, you know, that communication deal going on. I think
Mr. Pickens, you still have the floor, sir.
What's that?
Mr. Pickens has the floor. I'm sorry.
Yes, you do. I'm sorry.
And then we'll move forward on interviewing
Absolutely.
possible candidates to permanently fill the interim.
Exactly.
Okay?
I'm giving us a little time.
Is that proper wording there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Yes, sir.
to address Commissioner Pickens. So if the motion were to pass, Ms. Papel would no longer be acting county administrator. She would go back to her title of budget officer and deputy county administrator, and Mr. Tompkins would then be the interim county administrator until such time as you all may or may not decide to bring somebody else into that position.
Correct.
Commissioner Goddard, you had your hand up?
I'm just thinking back over my
Allen, if you
career
need
in
to sit down.
business.
Ms. Allen, would you like to sit down? I'm sorry.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm holding on.
If I were in Ms. Papel's position, and I'm not trying to override that, I'm just thinking, don't think I would want someone else. She's got a very difficult job right now. I'm trying to think in my mind, I've seen this before where somebody good steps over here, but because they're not familiar with the situation, they end up more in the way than being a help, and that's my only concern. I'm not a finance director by any means, but I don't want to hinder you.
Well, my only comment is I don't know what contribution Mr. Tompkins could make in the Budget Review Committee meetings that are upcoming outside of the Public Works arena.
Why don't we ask Mr. Tompkins?
Well, I have a comment. I feel like if we move down this path that we're going to be well, actually not double paying, but we're going to be paying you back wages for something that you've done, Ms. Popel, and then moving forward with someone at another cost and recreating the whole situation. I share the concerns of Commissioner Goddard that, starting Monday, we have budget talks that are going on. And for someone to be an observer instead of a participant, I'm concerned about. Now, I have full confidence in Mr. Tompkins' ability to run Public Works. I'll tell you that now, and I'm very happy with the job that's going on. But that job is a very moving parts job also, and I have concerns about that. So, Commissioner Lible, you had a comment?
Well, you might want to bring Mr. Tompkins up and ask him what he can bring to the table.
All right.
3 comments saying he might not have anything. I think you need to ask.
You're more than welcome to do that, Commissioner. Mr. Tompkins, Commissioner Lible would like for you to come up.
Mr. Chairman, to address your question regarding the additional pay, it really would just be from one to the other. The additional pay currently for Ms. Papel would end when she is no longer in the acting county administrator position, so there shouldn't be any overlap there.
Okay, Mr. Tompkins, you have the floor, sir.
Okay, do you have any specific questions, or I am familiar with budgeting. In my previous job, I had solid waste, I had fleet, I had public works, engineering, road and bridge. We had all those budgets prepared. We were also very heavily involved with the gas tax revenues, the projection on those, how they could be used, also the impact fees, how they could be used, and how different funds act and how they could be used and can't be used. We had a very intricate part of the budget with the other county because our department was the one, other than sheriff and fire, we were the biggest budget to have. We had most people. We probably had all these, and I understand what Stacy's saying, believe me. It's not an easy task, but I think between the two of us, we do understand fund balancing. You have to balance the fund. There's a lot of moving parts with it. I think I could actually contribute and help her with this thing going through it. We'd have 2 sets of eyes on it, looking at things. I look at things, as you well know, from a very common sense approach. I look at what makes sense. What are we doing? And why are we doing it? And that's why I can bring that to the table. And I agree with her about some temporary help. I mean, this is the most critical budget this county's probably faced in a long time. And I do believe I have the expertise and ability to help us through this. That's why I honestly volunteered for it, is to help us through this budget and get Putnam County where it needs to go. My wife and I have adopted this county. We have moved to this county. We built our home here. We plan on being here till the Lord takes us away. And we want to contribute to the county. And I think I have the ability and the knowledge and the foresight to help get us through this budget crisis.
Mr. Tompkins, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
If that was to happen today, and you heard our Mr. Manning, our attorney, say there would not be a dual salary, but there is, because somebody would move into your position and expect more money as they've done in the past, correct?
No, sir. What I explained to you, I go in early in the morning. I go in and work between 6:30 and 7. As I explained to y'all, I would still go into Public Works in the morning and get my work done over there. It needs to be done. I get the vast majority of work done in the early morning hours. The road and bridge crews come in at 7. My other staff comes in at 8. And then I would come over here. I think they normally start about 8:30. I would be over here to help whatever I need to do to get the budget going and work in the administration part. If something does come up in engineering, road and bridge, public works, I'm a phone call away. I have a very capable staff. I don't micromanage, I delegate. And my staff has done an excellent job on picking up what they need to do. I let them do their job. I'm there to help them do it. They're gonna make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but we're here to help them through the mistakes, learn from, and go forward with it. And I don't think we need to hire a interim public works director and all. Mr. Nimitz and I have talked about it. He has more than capability to take up what little slack that I'm gonna leave over there, but I have the capability and to do both jobs right now on an interim basis. And I do volunteer that to the county.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add that Mr. Nimitz was an interim while we were waiting on Mr. Tompkins.
But he also was paid more, correct? Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I don't think anybody has any other questions for you.
Okay, thank you.
One concern of mine before we go too much further, doing what we've just passed a motion in a second on doesn't allow any other department heads to apply for the temporary interim county administrator position before we hire a temporary interim county administrator person, before we hire a permanent county administrator. Am I correct in how we look at that?
This is
So,
a stopgap
Mr.
measure
Lible,
to get us there.
yes, but you also were very adamant that you wanted all the employees to be able to apply equally.
For the interim, they still can. We're not eliminating that. We're giving ourselves breathing room to get there. I'm only bringing Mr. Tompkins forward at this point to get us there. We needed a week or two. You just said it. Our timelines, I suggested, we're making you nervous.
No, they're not making, I think we're there. I think we just did it before but that's just me. All right, we're going to bring this in for a landing. We have a proper, any other discussion? Commissioner Pickens, I'm sorry.
I understand that we will continue to look for
Yes.
a permanent.
This is
interim.
only to get us through a little period.
Okay.
And, Mr. Tompkins has gracefully explained that he does it out of the good of his heart to get us through this trying time. And I really would like to see Ms. Propel and Mr. Tompkins working side by side. I think we'll have a better public works department and a better budget department at the end of the 2 weeks or whatever it is.
Well, Commissioners, great discussion, let me say that. And I think that's where
I agree.
we have to have this discussion and we have to be able to talk openly and we do appreciate that. So if there's no further discussions from Commissioners, we're going to do a roll call vote. Ms. Tony, will you do roll call vote, please?
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3, District 4,
No.
District 5.
No.
Okay, the motion is tie, so it fails, correct? Okay, 2-2. All right. Currently, what we have on the table is, right now, what do we have? We have you being acting and getting paid currently, and we haven't named an interim. So,
No, I'll make a motion. I still think that Ms. Papel needs to be our interim officer.
Just until you interview and.
Acting is what
Yes,
she's asking.
acting interim officer.
Mr. Chairman,
we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Okay.
We got to discuss it first.
okay, that's fine. I'm not sure we need a motion. She is acting.
Well, he said acting interim, so they added a word to it.
Well, I think that would be inaccurate. I mean, it would be interim. She currently is acting.
Okay.
So adding the word interim makes us need to vote for it.
Yes.
If you want to appoint her as interim, yes, it would be a voted.
So the motion is acting interim or interim county administrator. Okay.
Well, again, I think the motion would be inaccurate as acting interim. She already is acting.
Okay.
Let's start over.
Interim.
Start over.
I'll make a motion for Ms. Papel. I'll withdraw my last motion.
Thank you very much.
The new motion is Ms. Pippel would become our interim county administrator.
Okay. We have a proper motion on the floor. I'm going to do something I don't have to do, but I'm going to move over to, I'm going to pass the gavel over to the vice chairman. May I borrow your microphone? I second the motion. Are you going to relinquish it, or are you going to keep it?
No, I like it. No, I relinquish it.
So we have a proper motion and a second. Okay? Tony, roll call vote, please.
District 1,
No.
District 2,
No.
District 3, District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Okay, 2-2, fails. All right, we're getting nowhere.
I'm gonna say, where are we now?
We're back to,
acting.
we're back to acting,
And you're gonna leave it there.
and we're gonna leave it there. And with a pay raise of $1,500 a month, and you are still the acting, and we are going to get off this topic unless somebody else wants to, another commissioner wants to join in on it.
Well, I'd like to hear just a little conversation on what can make Ms. Propel's job a little more efficient. Because I heard your testimony a minute ago, it was very real and true, and I don't think we did anything to alleviate it.
No, I got consensus to get help in here, and that will help.
You got consensus to hire 2 people,
Yeah, I thought
2 temporary
Th-
positions.
That will assist. I mean, it's still, they'll still be hours, but
Right.
that will assist.
So we did do something.
So
today.
you did do something.
Just for the public, no, I mean, that's what we did. And I'm glad we have these discussions. Unfortunately, we do have to have them here, but it's good for us to have those here. So thank you very much.
Can we take a break?
Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
I'll have to listen to what he said. That's one of those weird ones that you're like.
He's gonna hit the gavel.
He did it, but then he undid what he did.
All right. As soon as we get Commissioner Pickens back, we will start back up again.
You'll be over here all week. So you can do Joe's minutes.
And then another thing that happened, sufficient copies are not provided with, one of the people, and they don't get access to their own copies. So I was like,
You shouldn't be asked to make copies, that's board admin stuff. I usually tell people I can't leave them with copies. I will for these guys if they need some. The chair says get up and make a copy, I get up and go make a copy. If Mr. Smith tells me I get up.
All right. We're going to call our meeting back to order. Tony, are you ready? Okay. Do want to mention one thing before we get too far down the line, and we already did. Leota Wilkinson with Representative Bobby Payne's office is in the house today. Representative, we appreciate that, Leota. And Katie Ross with Senator Bill Nelson's office is also, both of them are going, well, Katie's going to be here sometime to be in our office, and we appreciate that. And Leota, that y'all have an office Bobby Payne, Representative Payne does over on 100. So we thank you for that. Appointments, item number 11. Do we have any appointments to fill? Fishing Fund, Library Board, Parks and Rec, Planning Commission. I'm filling the Public Safety Coordinating Council ones. We still need on Public Safety Coordinating Council Planning Committee, someone who's Director of County Probation or Pretrial and representative from Area Homeless Program or Supportive Housing. I had somebody in mind, but since relatives of the commissioners cannot serve, Commissioner Goddard, your wife got kicked out. Sorry about that. So Waterways and Trails and Zoning Board of Adjustments. So commissioners, if there's no appointments, I'm hearing none. We'll move to County Acting Administrator, Stacy Popel.
I have 2 things.
Okay.
One is the library board is moving forward on moving the archives to the vacant space down beside the Supervisor of Elections and Veteran Services, that empty office that we used for animal adoptions for a period, and before that, a fitness center. They've got some exciting plans. They're gonna have a paint party soon, and then we're going to clean up the floors for them a little bit and fix the front doors and put an alarm on that office. And they're gonna, they have really exciting plans. I think there are members in the audience, if any of them wanna come up. They've got exciting ideas for the window fronts.
Good. Ms. Lane, thank you. Now, let me give you a clarification. Yes. I don't paint. I will donate to paint, but you do not want me painting. I am a sprayer kind of guy. I'm not a roller. I'm not a brusher.
We all know money is always appreciated.
Okay, good.
Marcia Lane, 210 East Forest Park Drive. I'm president of the Putnam County Historical Society. We do think Palatka and Putnam County have a bright future. And we too know how bad the budget is. We think we've come up with a thing between the Historical Society, the Genealogy Society, and the Library Board to put together a plan that we take the archives and genealogy and it goes into that building. We will have volunteers. The county library system will give us an archivist 1 day a week for sure, but they don't have the money to keep it open all the time. We will put together a list of volunteers and they will help out. Part of what the library system is, the Historical Society will be putting in is a Past Perfect program that allows us to put everything online. It means if you're in Idaho and want to find out about your father who was down in Crescent City, you can go on and find all this out. It will preserve these records, and it will mean that we have a better opportunity to make people aware of how much is going on and how much has gone on in Putnam County. So we just see it as a very positive thing. With the county's help, we can make this happen.
Let us know the date that you're moving in. We'll be glad to be of help to you. Give us any
Actually, I'm
work,
looking for strong backs, gentlemen, so.
give us any work days and we'll be glad to, I'm sure we'll all be glad to help you do
Well,
that.
we appreciate it. We do think this is going to be a pretty good thing, and we think it will, we hope to excite kids, newcomers, old-timers about the history of this area and get them involved in helping to preserve it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything I can answer, or?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Appreciate it.
You'll need to approve us to go into a lease agreement with them, even if it's a $0 lease.
Do you want to bring a lease back to us? I would prefer that you
Okay.
bring a negotiated lease. Yeah, I like the zero amount, so, you know. So.
The
But
other-
yeah, if you'll bring that back at
Okay.
a future date.
Yeah, the commission certainly, when you're talking nonprofit and other government organizations and whatnot, certainly has the authority to lease space for no consideration. And it sounds like that's the direction that's being given, and we'll go ahead and bring a lease forward for you.
And I hate to go here, but the other thing I have is you've left our HR director unclear on how she's supposed to proceed regarding interviews, the whens, the wheres. She came to me during the break.
I think from my understanding, 1:30 on Monday, we will set the criteria and the salary for the interim temporary county administrator and the direction of going out and looking for one. At the same time, we set the criteria for the county commissioner, the county administrator search committee to use. And am I correct in saying that, commissioners? I believe that was
That's what I
consensus.
understood.
That's what you heard, Commissioner Pickens?
So she'll get her direction.
We'll give her
then.
direction on Monday.
Okay.
And if you could go ahead and give us some talking points ahead of time, some of your suggestions, we would greatly appreciate that. Okay? All right. Is that all, Ms. Papel?
That's all I had.
Thank you. County Attorney, Mr. Manning?
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that participated and arranged for the Earth Day celebration at Dunn's Creek State Park. My wife and I attended that with Commissioner Lytle. I understand we just missed Commissioner Pickens, but we enjoyed it greatly, and There was good educational opportunities there as well, and it was fun. Hope to go again next year and hope to see it continue to grow.
Thank you. Mr. Tim Smith, our Honorable Clerk of the Court.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, this seems to be the season of transition, so I want to tell you about a transition in our office, and that is Mr. John Jones is going to be stepping down as the finance director for the county at the end of May. John is a CPA. We were fortunate to hire John 14 years ago. Mike Anderson was our finance director prior to that, so we have a rich history of working with the county on all of the various aspects and roles and responsibilities we have as comptroller and chief financial officer. He did mention to me that this is his 240th commission meeting.
But who's counting, right?
Yeah, but what I wanted to ask him was, well, how many times were you in this building when it was a theater, and where did you and she used to sit? Back row. See, that's what I thought. So you've actually been in this building a lot. Yeah, okay. So, but we're fortunate that Ms. Susan Frank, who was out in the audience with us, also a CPA and has been working with us for a couple of years, is going to be promoted to finance director in the clerk's office. So, and then once that transition happens at the end of May, John will stay on a couple of months and work with her in that transition. So we won't have any additional impacts to budgets or additional personnel during that time frame. Then once John fully retires and leaves our office, then we will then begin a search for replacement CPA for Susan. So that's the process that we're going to go through, and we'll still be in good hands, and we will have a smooth transition with a lot of knowledge. They both came from auditing firms, and so that's been really beneficial to us to have their auditing expertise over the years. And so we're excited about that, and I wanted to congratulate John on a great career with Putnam County and wish him well as he moves forward. So thank you, John.
Thank you.
And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And only a CPA would count exactly how many times he's been in.
That's right. Probably got in a little book somewhere.
Yeah, I know, right. Got a little ledger somewhere that he's keeping. Okay. Commissioners, I'll start with my left. Commissioner Pickens.
Yeah, just a couple things. Just want to add to what Stacy said about the Earth Day. It was the second annual Earth Day, which was held at the new Dunn's Creek State Park. I was fortunate enough to go to the ribbon cutting a month or so ago and got to see the parking lot and the facilities, picnic areas, and the soft launch for the kayaks and things like that. But the event was held there for the second year, and I was honored to have Sam Carr ask me to open up the event and say a few good words about the park and our ecotourism that I think is a very big part of a piece of the puzzle to move Putnam County forward. And so anyway, my wife and I were able to take our boat and all the way around and met Chip and Stacy for just a little bit, but it was a great event. And also, I just would like to mention that as a first-year commissioner, the first year, I was asked to donate to the fair, to the FFA, for the add-ons for the livestock that they raise and in turn sell. And I'm not sure all who contributed, but I know it was the county commissioners and probably some of the other employees with the county. But I just want to thank the FFA and the participants, the young people. I've received about 10 thank you notes from those children, and I thought that was kind of a lost art. Everything was an email. But they're handwritten notes. Some of them had pictures of their livestock and as they were raising them. And I just want to say I really appreciate that, and was honored to get those cards. So, and this was a very interesting meeting. I hope it was productive. And thank you everybody for attending.
Thank you, Commissioner Lible.
Just comment again, friends of Dunn's Creek State Park. What a wonderful job Saturday. For just a second-year event, there were a lot of people there. There were booths probably 20 in total, selling things and information, and even had live alligators on the place you could pet if you wanted to. So that was a good time. And likewise on the FFA event, Mr. Pickens was commenting on, it is very nice to get those handwritten notes from those kids, those students. And looking forward to the future.
Good. Thank you. Commissioner Goddard.
Yeah, thank everybody for being here. On those, I did not receive any emails on the livestock. Everything was handwritten.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
usually is.
like you said, I thought that was pretty neat. And don't forget, we do have the Blueberry Festival. That's one of the nice things we have is we have our festivals, we have our events that go on. There's always seems like something to do in Putnam County. And if you don't have anything to do, you can come here and be entertained by our county commissioners.
Well, that's worth something right there. Thank you, Commissioner Goddard. I want to say last night I attended and when you hear us talk about things, you can't attend everything. There's just no way that we can all get around and do everything that happens. Saturday I got to helping the FFA out in Interlachen cook ribs, and lo and behold, thank God I did, because I needed their help in the afternoon when my cooker wouldn't fire up to cook for the National Guard honor program that they do at every year. So we all can't be everywhere, and I just want to let you know that we all try to be as many places as we can, but there's only one of us at a time. I do want to say last night the Interlachen Community Center hosted its first annual anniversary, and I tell you, that room was packed. There must have been 40 people playing musical. They had a potluck dinner. It was a wonderful event. This coming Friday night, Commissioner Goddard and his wife, along with myself and a few others, will be playing donkey basketball at Interlachen High School. That will be hilarious, I'm sure. It's already getting rave reviews in the audience here now. Tickets are $8 in advance, so it's worth the fundraiser that it is. I'm sure my legs will hit the ground. I'm just positive that donkey's not going to be big enough. Do want to bring to light that this coming Friday, as we did last Friday at the Interlachen Community Center, the Social Security office came out from Jacksonville and took care of any Social Security problems that people had. This coming Friday here at the government complex, they'll be back in-house again. So if you know of anybody that needs help with Social Security, with claims, questions, Ms. Allen has been very instrumental in getting this set up, and it will be here. So please avail yourself to come. You know, the public was crying out that they want the Social Security office back in. If we don't come, they won't come. And we need to show that we have a need here in Putnam County. So I would encourage all of our citizens that are watching to be a part of that. And on Saturday, May 27th, the Garden Club of Interlachen would like for all of us to attend an auction and a tea, yes, a tea, at the Interlachen Community Center. They're doing a fundraiser to decorate around the building. So, Commissioners, there's no other further business to come before us. Hearing none, this meeting will be adjourned.